Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the Monster Girl Survivor's Guide with Jin and Mike. I am here with the one, the only Doctor of Monster Girls, Jen Graves.
Heck yeah.
What are we talking about today, Jen Graves?
We're talking about how monster girls are affected by monsterization and how they basically can take in essence and other things and have it affect them in a certain way.
Yes, and we are live today. So if anybody has any questions in the chat, please let us know. Um, basically, what the there's several um, it's like several stages of like the monsterization process. Um, it's usually when a human is basically transformed into a monster. Um, they are usually they get injected with the mana from that particular monster, and they basically fill them up with the mana, and their body goes through like this transformation, and
It goes through metamorphosis.
they become basically defenseless against the pleasure and seduction of the particular monster that they're trying to fight off, one might say. And the monster is basically trying to reshape them and basically trying to make them their basically part of their monster army. Basically, what it seems like.
Yeah.
And there are other ways to actually be transformed into a monster as well. Aside from injecting the mana into the monster, you can get bit or like a woman basically, and
Yeah, like getting changed by a vampire or a
yeah,
werewolf.
or you can get an egg planted into your body.
And that's more like god, what are they called? I think they're called ropers.
Yeah, I believe
Um
so.
something like that. You can have a certain particular um almost virus type monster girl that might not be one like we've kind of covered already that actually has like a mind and knows what they're doing and whatnot. It's one that only does it strictly based off of this.
Hmm. There are also drugs produced by the succubus mana that can be taken, and in the when they inhale the drug, like the spores can cause them to become monsters, basically. But I find the process to be really interesting because there's several different ways that you can get turned into a monster girl. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, it seems kind of painful at some points, because there are physical effects that come with basically becoming a monster girl. Um,
Right? I always think about like uh maybe not the old one so much, but whenever you watch like any of the new Ben 10, sometimes they'll show his skeleton and it'll look like
yeah,
it's ripping itself apart or growing something or whatever. Obviously like that, which you know, there's got to be some kind of painful thing to it, obviously.
yeah, because they basically grow new appendages. They usually keep their look, like their facial structure, usually stays the same, so they look like the same person. Um, but they do usually grow like horns, wings, or tails when it comes to becoming a monster girl. And usually, when becoming a monster girl, a woman is overwhelmed with surge or carnal desire. Her body itches for the man and becomes like exponentially like sensitive so that she can devour devour pleasure all more greedily, basically. Which
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting. And they also usually will gather up the base, like the skills that the particular monster has, um, depending on what monster you basically go off of. So they'll learn like their particular trait and and how they basically try to find a man. Usually,
yeah.
it all comes down to finding a man.
Which I think there's a couple forms too. I mean, you kind of have to read into the book here and there to actually see it. But like with the monsterization
What?
stuff, I think it's also something that happens with males too. Um,
Close the door.
I think that with that, there are some monster girls that if the man basically like
Hmm?
hooks up with him or whatever, that actually stuff happens.
Yes.
I know the elemental girls give some of their power off, so you almost have like that magical stuff where you have like fire power, earth power, water, and wind and stuff like that. Um, but there's also other ones that like we'll get to them later on, like the deep sea women. There's
Yeah.
some that whenever um, they kiss you or copulate with you or whatever, like you yourself get the ability to breathe underwater. um some of them, if they come with you or whatever, then they give your body this resistance to heat. I mean, a lot of different stuff gives you that, which is kind of cool here and there when they add it in.
Yeah. You're not just you don't just like they all get special powers and whatnot depending on what monster you go for, basically. And then we get to three is the mental effects that one might have when becoming a monster girl. Um, like with the body, like the physical effects, they do start to change mentally as well. They do retain most of their original human memories. However, their personality will will basically transform. They'll basically uh, sort of become a different person altogether. Um,
Right, they'll yearn.
they'll yearn,
Yeah,
which
that's the easiest way to say it. They'll yearn.
they'll yearn for those loins. Um, but yeah, like they can be like a man-hating knight or a timid man-fearing country girl. I'm reading out of the book. I'm not making this up. That's what it says. Uh,
Which
uh,
I guess
yeah,
there's something else that we should bring up. Just lightly touch on it. I mean, also in the world building process with part of this, there are monster girls and stuff. I mean, they're everywhere, but at the
yeah.
same time, it's kind of like there's ones where it's acceptable. Um,
And there's ones where it's not,
yeah, and
basically.
there's some that's it's in the middle, different stuff like that. So some of them, the monster girls are still seen as the old villains that they were before, monsters that want to go for flesh instead of monsters that want to enjoy flesh. And
Yeah, basically. Because there was a fear prior to the Monster Girls being created when the monsters were just monsters. And, there was basically like a war between the monsters and the humans at one point. And there were casualties on both sides. We'll just say that. Um, but they do usually invoke a cardinal affairs with the men and will come like at ease when time comes. They usually get used to it. Um, and they usually um, usually like a loathing of monster girls. Like the monster girls aren't necessarily always liked in the communities, and her head will usually overflow with thoughts or delights of human men, and usually she will try to speak her secrets and basically try to seduce the human. That's like basically what their number one goal is, because to basically procreate usually and try to make more of that particular race. One might say it's a, I don't know, how would you describe that, Jim Graves? Like
To increase their number in their race.
yeah,
Oh, I mean, some of it I feel like it's acceptable because they are including it for like love or it's something where you do know like it could happen,
yeah,
but at the same time you do have other ones that I feel like are almost like the Goblin Slayer manga where they're
yeah.
just trying to do it to increase their numbers.
Hmm.
um, you have ones to increase their numbers, ones that just can't handle themselves and want to do that. And then you have other ones that obviously they just kind of don't care. They want it their way, and if they find like a mate, then that's good. If not, then
Yeah,
oh
and
well.
yeah, they usually say that there's either like one of two categories when it comes to the monster girls. Is you give in to your animal instincts, or you keep your basically humanity, um, because they will get a new instinct for just attacking humans in general, um, which is pretty interesting. I kind of wonder how that like would affect like families if like a monster, like somebody's wife became a monster girl, or or like a family member.
Right. And then I mean the other thing too that I really like with all this stuff is they do include like religious stuff into it sometimes,
Yes.
and sometimes somebody could be of a particular religion or whatever, and the guy fully be like, this isn't my wife anymore,
Yeah.
she's a monster girl, I don't want to be with her, and based off of where they are, sometimes that's how it is. They don't care about it, it happened. um we're not changing anything for it just happens that way. And some of that it does kind of get grown out, some where they decide, yeah, I still love them. Um, it doesn't matter if they're a monster girl or not. It's something that happens. I'll
Yeah.
love them and join with them. Or like I said, there's ones that are religious that are like, no, this is wrong. We're not going to be together, and
Yeah.
they kind of get run off or killed.
Yeah. Because there's kind of like a I guess you would call it racism when it comes to the monsters. Because would you say racism?
Not
No.
exactly racism. I mean, there's a hatred for it.
Yeah, I
I
would
would
say more of a hatred. I lost my words there for a minute. Like it's pretty interesting, and then we get to like their rationalities, like they're like rationalizing like how and what they basically have become. Um, Usually, they seek out men and attack them whenever the women become monster girls. There are a number of reasons why they may do that. Um, for instance, they may wish to increase their allies or neutralize an enemy. Um, when it comes down to it, you know. But for most reasons, they often desire to just make women into monsters. Like they'll just go at them and just make more in their ranks, basically.
yes.
And the monsters usually will select women who either do not know or reject pleasure, or women who struggle to conceive um, and whatnot, which that's pretty interesting. Um, which I mean, it all really comes down to attacking and mating. When you think
Yeah.
about it, they just want to kill people and fuck them, basically. The usually the monster.
And usually it's not even killing because
Yeah.
that's what the new overlord of the realm basically. She's a succubus. Tried to get out. She was tired of people killing monsters and monsters killing people, and so now she changed it all into a world where monsters are basically cute girls, and everybody wants to breed with them. So that does beg the question, though, of what if you were a monster guy before and you got changed? Is it like where did
Yeah.
it go? You
Yeah.
know?
Because they really don't touch on that much. I mean, they just said everybody got turned into a monster girl, like all the monsters.
Yeah,
Like it didn't really matter on what you were beforehand, and which is weird when you think about it. Like you just cut like half away of the like you just cut like completely out the male monster population. Like they're like useless basically. They're like saying, "Oh, we don't need you guys anymore. We're just gonna turn everybody into hot monster girls."
right.
And then we get to, I would say, probably the most interesting part of the monsterization, which is the incubi. We've kind of touched on the incubi before in our first episode.
Yes.
And the incubi are men who have been ravished and altered by a monster's mana. And though incubi are often treated as monsters, technically speaking, monsters are strictly women.
Yes.
Um,
Incubi are kind of like in their own group.
yeah.
And then it's really different for that whole thing. Like monsterization can also be done like whenever you take in like too much monster essence.
Hmm.
And as far as that goes, there's different types. It's kind of like um, a drug that can change you to different things, and depending on what bites you with it, you can get a different thing for it. So
Yeah.
if like a dog bites you, you turn into a werewolf. If a cat bites you, you turn into a werecat. As far as it goes for a guy, you always turn it into an incubus. There's nothing different about it. You always turn into this sex crazy man.
Basically. And while the incubus are merely just humans that have acquired these characteristics that said because the quantity and quality of the essence in their bodies um, surge during the like after the transformation, the incubi become very well suited for monsters, like for monsters basically. Like the monsters will use the incubi, and it's not reasonably it's not really known why people call them male monsters. Like nobody knows why.
Right? Yeah. And you never get to see what one looks like. I don't even
Yeah,
think they have any art drawings of the monster guys.
yeah,
They're just kind of there.
yeah. I don't really know if they have any. Honestly, I mean, I flipped through both of the books. I don't believe they're in any of these, like whatsoever. And I guess you could say the closest thing is, where is it? Is the what? Maybe the Roper,
For which one?
the like closest to like an incubi.
None of them.
You want? I thought maybe like the Roper would be.
I think the closest thing to an incubi would be your average guy with a above average sex drive.
Mm.
I mean, that's the only thing. Maybe some things would grow a little bigger. Maybe it helps them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like steroids that don't like shrink it, but it makes it bigger.
Yeah. Do you
Um,
wanna? Yeah. Do you want to kind of talk about like the like how this kind of came about, like the whole Overlord taking over
we can, yeah.
from the previous Overlord?
Heck yeah.
Well, like the previous Overlord was very kind of, didn't they kind of ruled like an iron fist, if I remember correctly?
Yes, the previous Overlord. It doesn't state what he was or anything. Like it tells
Yeah,
us the new one was a succubus, but we do know that the old one was a male, basically, and that he um, that's what he wanted. He basically wanted killing. He didn't
yeah,
really care about anything. And the new one was a succubus and decided that she would overthrow him and turn the world basically into a bunch of hippies with love instead of death. So
yeah. And so she got this guy to basically kill the Overlord. Wasn't he like a warrior? A warrior?
it was the hero.
Oh, sorry, the hero. My bad, because he doesn't get a name in this book. The hero basically killed the previous overlord in like this grand battle. They kind of tell you about it in the book, and he ends up uh, the second overlord basically takes the throne and makes him into her husband, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then she turns every monster into a monster girl. And that's really kind of where we start the journey, is because they're basically it's from kind of like the point of view of the writer of the book, where
From
they this
Inko.
yeah, from Kinko. We'll just say, I don't really remember if he has like a name or not in the book, but he basically journeys throughout the world documenting the different monster girls.
Right.
So yeah, which man, did she sure did have a lot to document in the book.
Yeah, he does.
Because I mean, he
I feel
had to
like he's
go
got
through all.
even
Did
more
he?
than I feel like he's got even more to say than Dr. Jin Graves.
Yeah, he had to go through a lot. Sometimes I feel like the little pictures in the corners are of the author with the monster girls. Just saying, like
I have
little
to.
like Polaroids or something.
Oh no. I only have to say with that, I feel like I disagree.
Oh
Feel
yeah,
like it was him like peeking through a door or something and seeing that,
you think so?
because I feel like he wouldn't, if you think about everything that he would have to get through to know any of that stuff, there's no way, because if he got caught by a monster girl,
Oh,
he would be done.
that
He'd
is
be
true. I
done.
totally forgot. I don't think he would be able to stand up against an orc.
Right? Any of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of them don't have pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like it was him being a spy
He's
instead of
he's he's basically what would you call we call him like a provert.
yeah.
He's a he's
Well, well, would you really say that? Because he's doing it for science.
Oh yeah, he's doing it for science. Sorry, you know.
What
But
are you,
yeah,
what are you doing standing over there? It's for science.
it gets like really interesting, and then we get to like what was it? what is the essence and mana? That one's pretty interesting on like how they secure their powers and whatnot, and like the various roles of monster mana, which we can probably touch on that later. I don't know because each monster mana does different things.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily always do the same thing. Like each monster has usually their own specific kind of magical power, which we'll cover when it comes to those different monsters,
Right. And
which
then
we did.
in the world, there's still magic. So
Yeah, there's still magic. It hasn't really like stated like if they actually have like technology and stuff in this world. Have they?
I don't think so. The closest thing will be some of the monster girls we actually talk about, which are the gremlin in book 2, and um, there's one other one. Most of it is all just magic powered or something like that, you know.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where we go from here because we have barely like scratched the surface of the first book.
Yes.
Like we are like how many have we covered? Like
I have no idea.
I lost count, and we've made like several of these.
And some of them we've had two people or two monsters in it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. Some of these I'm really iffy on whether or not I want to show. We'll have to talk about and debate about that because like what was it it's like the dark mass, the one like
Sitting on the ball.
the one sitting on the ball. I don't know if we'll be able to show that one.
We might have to find a PG-13 version of that.
Yeah, PG. But yeah, it gets really interesting, and then we get into like the essence and mana, and there's many different ways they use it. Some use it for nourishment. Others use it like basically to resupply their mana, which is it's pretty cool. So, Jen Graves, we're coming up on 30 minutes almost. Do you have any final thoughts on the monsterization process?
Any final thoughts? Uh, yeah. Where do I sign up?
Where do you sign up? You'll be an incubi.
Exactly where I sign up.
I honestly feel like it would be a horrific process to be turned into a monster girl. It seems like it would be really painful.
I would be a monster guy. There's not very much changing.
Jen Graves, there's no monster guys in this world.
Yes, there is. Incubi.
They're not necessarily classified as the monster girls or monsters.
There's still monster guys to me, damn it.
So, which one? Since we've covered like 10 monster girls, what monster girl are you looking forward to cover?
What monster girl am I feeling like I want to get covered?
Like we talk about next.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of different ones. They all have good stories. We'll just keep chugging along, you know.
Yeah, I agree. You want to send us off?
Well, heck yeah.
Okay.
So, guys, go subscribe to Talk of Mike. Oh, wait. Well, if you're already here, you should be subscribed to Talk. Go subscribe to me. I'm Jen Graves. Hi. Professor PhD in monster anatomy and monster magic and mana and a bunch of other stuff. By this time, I probably have like 17 degrees because Mike always puts a new one on me at some point. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Some of it, yes, is a little extreme, and some of it is pretty fun. I feel like a lot of different parts of it are more natural, explaining it, or um, they are more romanticized. I feel like that's probably what I like the most about this. instead of it being really crazy. But yeah,
Too bad we're ending. But thank you for watching. We hope you watch the rest of our 30-minute long stream. As always, as I say, same Monster Girl time, same Monster Girl channel. Thank you guys for watching, even though we didn't have anybody really in the live stream. You just showed up, Bobby Joe. Thank you for watching.
and comment
And
in the
comment
in the
down
comment
below.
to see what you might want to see next.
And how are we doing? Like, nobody's really commented on like how we've been covering the Monster Girls.
Right? I know the way that most y'all feel. Closet perverts. I know.
Closet perverts, just saying. Because there are other people who just strictly read out of. Thank you for hitting the bell. Um, there are other people who just straight read out of the book, and we kind of want to have conversations more about the Monster Girls themselves, and not just 100% read out of the book. We have more episodes coming out. We've taped a couple today, and this one will probably be going up after it gets uploaded. We're not going to wait and like not.
This one should already be up.
It should probably already be up. We don't know, but
we should release it.
we're going to release it. But thank you, Bobby Joe. Go subscribe to Jen Graves if you have not subscribed to Jen Graves. He is the person who introduced me to the wonderful Monster Girl Encyclopedia. You can go get it at rightstuff.com, where all your manga is sold.
Right. The only thing you may not get is a very long note in front of both the books.
Jen Graves wrote a note for me. One day I should probably read it on one of the episodes.
We'll read it on the Dadcast. Yeah.
But thank you for watching, and everybody have a good night. When's the next live stream with Jen Graves? They want to know when the next live stream is.
The next live stream when we do this?
Yeah, maybe in a couple weeks.
Maybe next week, maybe in a couple weeks. The next Monster Girl live stream will be after we get back to the next point. Anything that would be too long to cover in like a 15-minute period, like each girl, is when we will have a live stream to do it. So like environments where they live, talking about it, what you can find there, different stuff like that. So
I mean, I guess we could occasionally make a couple of these live. You know, like just do a couple of them live. You know, if people like to watch it, we'll have to see. You know, so we're kind of different when we're not live, and when we are live, we kind of turn it on sometimes or tell horrible jokes.
We do. We turn it up.
We turn it up for what? Or is it turned down for what? I don't know.
Turned down for who?
Turned down for who?
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for watching. Please go and watch the rest of the episodes if you have not. And just give us feedback, because nobody has really given us feedback that much. Maybe one or two comments at the most. Like, can you feed a werewolf peanut butter? You know, I don't know if you can feed a werewolf peanut butter. I'm not a werewolf expert. I don't know. Can you?
Wait, I should know this. I'm an expert.
Okay. Can you feed a werewolf peanut butter?
Yeah, you can feed anybody peanut butter as long as they don't have an allergy.
What if the werewolf has peanut allergies?
Then no, you can't.
But what if it wants peanut butter?
Then, just like every Pokemon game you've ever had in Nuzlocke, you might as well kiss it goodbye.
Okay, guys. Thank you for watching, and peace out. Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Enjoy the Monster Girls.